Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. Today is October 24th, 2024. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. As I mentioned, kind of pre-meeting, we're going to start looking at some of our more successful distribution partners and then giving you the opportunity to consult with them. We want you, think of yourself as the sales manager. So Claude, Mr. Keller, thank you for being on as usual. Claude, we're going to be looking for you to give Joseph feedback. What should he do differently? What should he do better? The same Greg and AJ, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Phelan. We have a lot of Romeo. We have a lot of you who are our big hitters. And so for what we're asking you to do is we'll diagram out what some of our different distribution partners are doing, and you're going to give them constructive criticism, how to do it better. So you're the teacher grading. So we're going to look at Joseph. Joseph's a real person. He's one of our distribution partners. He has a background in sales. He is a retired gentleman, but we'll just kind of go through the scripting here, and I emailed this out to you so you'd have it. So Joseph is one of our distribution partners. He's a retired gentleman who speaks with a kind voice. He's kind of like talking to grandpa, right? You kind of just your ears peak up and just you know that the man is bringing wisdom with every breath that he speaks. Joseph never seems to be in a hurry, and he's always near his Bible study and Bible reading is very important to him, which we admire. So, as I mentioned, when you speak to Joseph, you listen intently like you're speaking to your aging grandfather who has the wisdom to share, but maybe not much more time to share it. It's kind of like, is this the last Christmas with grandpa? Now, from when I describe this, you kind of think, well, here's an older gentleman kind of in the twilight of his career. Sounds like he's kind of passive, right? Hell no. Joseph sold 13 Shelf corporations yesterday. Now, we haven't finished the tally. Is that the record? Did any of you sell more than 13? Because up to yesterday, that's a new record for a one day. Romeo, how many did you end up closing yesterday? If you could type in to the Q&A. Sanya, Varney, Willie, just looking for everyone. What's your number from yesterday? How many deals did each of you do? Corinthian, how many did you do yesterday? Now, I'm going to feel kind of foolish if Corinthian sold more than 13. We should have been featuring her today instead of Joseph, but just looking. Claude, how many did you end up closing yesterday? Mr. Biggs, AJ, I know you got the call center working. Yeah, so I think we're in agreement. Joseph is our new record holder, which is great. And Joseph is, again, loving older gentleman. He doesn't be called but old, but an aged gentleman. He'd love for you to beat his record. But he's like the LeBron James of the NBA. Right now, he has the record. This is the record to beat. 13 in one day. Did anyone exceed 13 yesterday? Okay, so I think Joseph's got the record. Now, Joseph has not a sales approach and not a manipulative approach. And with Joseph's permission, we're going to go through his scripting because Joseph has been around. He's led sales organizations in his younger years, and so he's like you. What do you need to make a sale? You need a proposition, you need leads, and then you need to make the pitch. Right. So he understands that you don't just sit back and wonder, well, why am I not making any money? Well, do you have leads? We've gone through I shouldn't say most, many of you are working with Kyle now, getting leads from Kyle. We talked about that earlier this week or last week, whenever it was. Everyone that's telling me they're averaging 5 hot leads day one from Kyle. Now, but of course, if you want to generate double-digit sales per day, you're going to need more than 5 leads per day. But most of you are closing around 80 to 90% of the conversations that you have. So even if you're just average with Kyle, you should be closing 3 to 4 a day. And I think that's consistent with what a number of you are doing. All right, so Joseph likes to start his conversations with a prayer, and with Joseph's permission, he said we could go through it together. So Joseph would say in his more gravelly voice, Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day as we know that there is no promise of one tomorrow. We thank you for living in this land of great opportunity and the ability to earn a bountiful income as an entrepreneur. We thank you for the opportunity to speak with Mr. Biggs today at this time. Of course, you put in the prospect's name. Joseph would continue, Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that I may accurately and effectively describe to Mr. Biggs the benefits of purchasing a Shelf Corporation. I pray that he has an open and learning mind to listen and to make the best decision for himself and his family. I say this in the Lord's name. Amen. So this is Joseph's opening to his conversations. Yours is probably different, but we're going to stop here. Now it's time for you to start grading Joseph. This is how Joseph likes to open every conversation with a prospect. What constructive criticism do you have for Joseph? Because we know it's working. He may not be as strong of a closer as you are. He may not be as fast talking and fast thinking as you are, but we know it works. But nonetheless, we're here today to grade Joseph. So AJ, what do you think Joseph should do better? What is something different in his opening that you think he should change? Mr. Biggs, would you modify his prayer, or is his prayer acceptable to you? Corinthian. So I'm looking, we're grading. This is your time to be involved. You're helping Joseph do a better job. You're the teacher, you're the sales manager, and you're teaching Joseph, hey, Joseph, if you did it my way, you would close more deals. Your 13 is a pittance. You do it my way and you'll close more deals. Mr. Gibson, how would you change that prayer? Okay. And Willie says he wouldn't open with a prayer, and that's fine, right? So Willie, you open your conversations the way you want. We're not pushing Joseph's model on you, but Willie, if you'll submit to us how you open your conversations, then we can share your model with others and give you feedback, right? But Joseph was kind enough to give us his. So we're not saying you should do as Joseph does. And frankly, many of you should be able to far outperform Joseph. Okay, so overall, other than the comment, some of you wouldn't open with a prayer, which is fine. Other than that, no one really has a critique of his prayer. Okay, which is kind of weird to critique a prayer anyway, right? So now he goes in to his pitch, and his pitch is so much different than what most of you are doing. So this is what he says. And now he goes from that loving grandfatherly voice, and now he puts his authority hat on. And I can just imagine that he's looking, of course, these are phone conversations or Zooms that he's doing, but I can imagine he's looking into the eyes of the prospect, piercing into their soul and saying, look, you have a choice. Today, you've got a decision to make. This isn't a game. This isn't some reality show or a movie. And I don't have the time nor the inclination to beg or persuade you. I'm going to give you the facts. You make your decision. Now, at this point, I should mention, he already knows they have a problem, right? So you don't want to go into a pitch with someone that doesn't have a problem. What you and I do is we help entrepreneurs that's looking for funding to start or grow a business. So I didn't properly state that. He's not talking to a stranger this way. This is someone that already is pre-qualified. And again, if you're working with Kyle, all of those leads are pre-qualified. You're not wasting your time. They double verify all of those. So just to make sure you understand the context of this conversation. So this is where he goes for the close. So let's go through it. Joseph would say, I can provide, and he says this with great confidence, I can provide you the keys to a Shelf Corporation today that is like a preloaded ATM with $100,000. Let's pause there for a second. Think about that approach. And it's true, right? When someone buys a Shelf Corporation from you, it's not just a shell, it literally comes with $100,000 of receivables. And I asked Joseph when we were preparing for this, I said, Joseph, it's interesting that you use the ATM. Did you think about using like a preloaded debit card? And he hadn't. He goes with the ATM. But I could see you could also alter this and say, look, I'm going to give you the keys today to a Shelf Corporation, and it's like giving you a preloaded Visa card with $100,000 already on it. You kind of get the gist, right? Because it's true. We're transferring $100,000 of collateral in the form of accounts receivables that's real, that we can liquidate and turn into cash. I know it's not cash the moment the Shelf Corporation goes to them, but we can liquidate it. And that's what we should be offering every one of your clients. All 13 of these people that Joseph signed yesterday, we're going to start helping liquidate those receivables today. Because AR is nice, right? That looks good on the balance sheet. AR is great on the balance sheet. It's collateral. But what would everyone in the world rather have than AR and a balance sheet? Fucking cash in your hand, right? Money in your bank account. And that also makes them more lendable, more fundable because they have cash deposits. So this, I think, is a profoundly thoughtful sentence that Joseph put together, because I think some of you are not assimilating this, and it's got to be my fault. It's not yours. Do you understand that when they buy a Shelf Corp, it's not just some entity and some EIN and some business plan? It's all those things, but it comes with $100,000. And what are they paying out of pocket? We'll get down to that in a minute, but they're paying $1,000 out of pocket. If you could go buy a rental home that has income coming in and you could buy it for 1 cent on the dollar, would you do it? Hell yeah, you would do it. You'd go mortgage your wedding ring if you had to go buy that rental house for 1 cent on the dollar. That's what his proposition is. For 1 cent on the dollar, I'm going to transfer you $100,000. And Harold brings up a good point. You're right, Harold, and I'm clarifying that. You got, so we're not handing them that would be too good to be true. When they sign up for a Shelf Corp, we're not backing up the Brinks truck to their front porch and unloading bundles of $100 bills, right? We're not saying that. That's not true, and that's not what we want to say. But we are delivering an entity that has $100,000 of receivables. That's a freaking fact. And we can help you withdraw that $100,000 from your ATM. Okay, let's continue on with Joseph's topics or presentation. This Shelf Corporation is a fundable business that will be delivered to you in 7 days. So again, he doesn't oversell, right? Because he's a man of God. He's not going to say, oh, give me $1,000 today and your Shelf Corporation is going to be ready to go to funding tomorrow. That's not true. We don't need to oversell it. We need 7 days to do all the paperwork with the IRS, for the EIN, with the Secretary of State. We've said this, we've told you this, and Joseph doesn't oversell, and I would encourage you not either. I know everyone wants quicker, but that's about what it takes. We can try to do faster, but that's about what it's going to take, a week. It will be in your name and ready to go for SBA funding with a guarantee of at least $100,000 more. Now, this is where I think Joseph hits the nail on the head. So many people get lost because this 100,000 is the same dollar amount as this, but it's two different sources, right? This is money that comes with the business in the form of AR, as Harold pointed out. This is money that's coming with the business. Then we can go take on debt. Debt has to be repaid or is supposed to be repaid, loans for more. So if you think about that for a moment, they're 1,000 out of pocket. They're getting 1,000 with the business in AR, as Harold would want us to clarify. Plus, we have the ability to go borrow 100,000 or more. So now they're really getting 200,000 of value, and they're out of pocket $1,000. Okay, so let's continue on. It is designed to start creating positive cash flow for you from day one. Another profound sentence. And I was talking to Ronetta this morning. Ronetta is one of our distribution partners, and she also bought a Shelf Corporation. And she and I were having this conversation, not really a banter, but a conversation. I think this is another sentence that Joseph is wise enough to include in his presentation that I don't think most of you are. Do you understand that when we present them a Shelf Corporation, we're presenting them, in addition to the numbers, the 100,000, we're presenting to them a turnkey business plan with financial projections that are SBA ready. But it's not just paper, print on paper, it's real. When someone buys a Shelf Corporation, we can turn on the money spigot day one. I think so many people in our society, they just think, I want to borrow money. The way to fix my money problems is to borrow, 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 borrow. Well, great. That in business, it's called leverage. If that's what you want to do, we're here to help them. But what about making some money? Right? What do businesses do? There's not a business in the world that just survives off of borrow and borrow and borrow. Businesses need to offer some good or service to a customer, create value, solve a problem, and make money. We provide a Shelf Corporation to every one of these individuals that's ready to start making money from day one. And that's what Ronetta and I was discussing. Most of you who are distribution partners, who I'm very thankful for, you don't seem to get it, which is my fault. Do you realize that these Shelf Corporations are not just meant to be a money printing machine from a borrowing capacity? They're designed to start generating real earned income day one. Day one. So if you stop and understand, as Joseph sees the layers of value, it's hard to not close your prospects. So then Joseph goes for the close. So again, it comes with 100,000, which we set up here, that you can start withdrawing immediately. Just pay your $1,000 down payment today to show your commitment, and we'll finance the rest. Okay, so we asked for dialogue on the prayer. Pretty hard to give constructive criticism on a prayer, so we'll close that chapter. But we'll go ahead, and this is his pitch. This is his pitch. This is where I need feedback from you. Celino, you're one of the top salespeople I've ever met. What would you do? What would you say to Joseph so he could start closing more deals? What's your secret, Celino, that you have? I'm not asking you to share all your secrets, but tell us, Celino, what Joseph should do better to close like you. Sanya, what does Joseph need to know that you know that he doesn't know to change his value proposition so he makes the money that you're making? Michael, every one of you, I'm asking. Jeff, I don't know if you bought that Ferrari yet, but what is your Ferrari level advice, Jeff, that you can give to Joseph so he can produce like you produce? Because Joseph isn't struggling, but he's certainly not reaching the type of potential that most of you have. But he doesn't have the energy or the health to work like you do. He's past those years. So what is it that you can advise Joseph to do better or say different? Now, some of you are lead generators. And if you're a lead generator, you're just creating awareness, feeding into your landing page, and then Joseph and AJ and the others are closing your deals. But for those of you that are closers, help us out. You sharing your wisdom doesn't mean that others will take money away from you. I mean, this should be a collective effort. So this is how Joseph does it. Joseph can close consistently, we'll say 10 to 15 deals a day doing it this way. If any of you would like to be featured tomorrow or in the near future, let me know. But we'd love to break down, Harold, when you're talking to these prospects, you've got some power. I don't know if you're hypnotizing them or what, but Harold, help us understand your messaging so others can learn from you. And then again, we're looking for feedback. So what is it that you think in this paragraph, in one paragraph, to me, this is freaking loaded with extraordinarily powerful statements. Let's go through it one more time. I can provide you the keys to a Shelf Corporation today that is like a preloaded ATM with $100,000. Is that a true statement? Yes. They'll get the Shelf Corporation. Now we have 7 days to deliver it, granted. But is it going to come with $100,000? Yes, it will. $100,000 of collateral in the form of accounts receivable. That's a factual statement. We're not exaggerating. Do they have to withdraw it? And that was Harold's point. Yeah, they would have to withdraw it. We would have to liquidate the AR to turn it into cash in their hands. And that's why Joseph uses that analogy to not misrepresent. This Shelf Corporation is a fundable business that will be delivered to you in 7 days. That's not really a sales point, but it's to manage expectations. He doesn't want to sell the deal today, and the person says, hey, I don't have my Shelf Corporation I bought yesterday. We need 7 days to deliver. It will be in your name and ready to go for SBA funding with a guarantee of at least $100,000. Now, so this $100,000 is debt. We're talking about going and borrowing money. This $100,000 comes with it. But then the third element is we can turn around and start making money day one. But again, I know most entrepreneurs that are chasing after money, they're not thinking about making money, ironically. When I was talking to Ronetta, I said, Ronetta, you've had your shelf now for a week or so. Are you cash flowing from your Shelf Corp? No, she's not. She's so focused, which is not a negative. She's so focused on borrowing money, which is fine, that she's not started to liquidate the 100,000, which we're resolving because she overlooked that or we didn't properly advise her on that. And she's not creating positive cash flow, but she should be. So 3 economic benefits from a Shelf Corp. Comes with 100,000, ready for funding with a guarantee of at least 100,000 more, and ready to start making cash flow from day one. All right. So what questions Romeo asked about liquidation? So when we liquidate the 100,000 of AR, we're collecting the money from the debtors. Because what is AR? AR stands for accounts receivable. And so that means it's money that's owed to the business, to the Shelf Corporation that was just transferred to the buyer. So the AR is real, it's documented, it's legally owed. So then we need to start collecting that. How long does it take? Well, in Ronetta's case, we've not started liquidating it yet because it's not been a priority of hers. But ideally, we'd start liquidating it day one or day two. So ASAP. It's an easy analogy. We used this example before. So Romeo, you and I go start a lawn care business and we mow someone's yard. But, well, I'll give you an even better example. There's a guy that mows my yard. I'm trying to remember his damn name. I'll try to find his name to make it real. I'm not very personal with him, but he's a great guy. But he comes and mows the yard at our office complex. Not every week because it didn't grow that fast this time of year. But he came, I think, Monday and mowed. True story. He mowed. Look out the window. He's out there mowing. But he didn't leave an invoice. So do I have an accounts payable to him? Sure. Did he leave me an invoice to trigger payment? No. So that's accounts receivable. So if he, my lawn care guy, wanted to get paid quicker, what would he have done? He would have left a fucking invoice on my door or in the mailbox or email to trigger me to pay him sooner. He's not done that yet. I'll pay him, but I'll pay him after he invoices. Well, if you all are sitting on this $100,000 and you're not, or your clients are sitting on $100,000 of accounts receivable, but not invoicing the debtors, guess what? The money's not going to ever probably come in. We have to bill people that owe us. I mean, it's the most basic business concept, right? So we can do that for them. They can do it themselves, but it starts, Romeo, with invoicing the debtor, as simple as it sounds. All right. Thank you, Romeo, for that question. Anyone else have questions? So what did we try to accomplish today? We're just going to step back and look at what other people are doing. Not better than you, certainly not smarter than you, certainly not more successful than you. But Joseph sold 13 deals yesterday. If nothing else, I mean, we should give him a little hand clap, right? He produced. He's not sitting back telling us how great of a salesperson he is. He's not sitting back patting himself on the back and telling us about his years or decades of experience. He's just out fucking producing. He's making money to improve his life, his family's life, and he's a successful entrepreneur. Is that what you're doing? Or are you out actually operating a successful business, which means you're generating a profit? The way we generate a profit is by helping other people. We sell shelf corporations. You make 5,000 up front on each one, plus you're making a percent of the capital raise on the back end. It's the economic model that works. Anyone have questions, comments, concerns? Of course, Madison's your first line of discussion. You can call Madison, you can email Madison, but she is available as your first course. I don't know, a first point of contact. I don't know that these notes are so helpful, but I did email each of you that are on our distribution list as active partners this morning. But I'm not suggesting that you go say Joseph's prayer. I don't think that's authentic, right? I don't think that's what you should be doing. I just want you to know how he opens his conversations, and I want you to know how he presents the value proposition in, I think, a very deep but easily understood way. If you're not communicating that it comes with 100,000, like a preloaded ATM, you probably aren't going to close as many deals as you should. If you don't make them understand that it is going to take a week, then you might be misrepresenting it. If you don't let them know that, hey, it's going to be in your name, it's SBA funding ready. We've developed these shelf corporations to be SBA compliant, and we guarantee at least $100,000 loan. If you're not communicating that, then what you're offering lacks the perceived value that it could. And if you're not encouraging them to be a successful entrepreneur, which means solve problems, to generate income by selling a good or service, then you're really not a very good advisor. No offense. So with that being said, that's Joseph's prayer. That's Joseph's model. We look forward to hearing from each of you that are willing to contribute your approach. Email it in to Madison with your permission, and then we can feature your story, your approach, your model. I do see that Doug was asking about leads, and I mentioned that before. So if you need leads, get with Madison. We're working with a gentleman named Kyle. Don't have a financial relationship with him. He doesn't pay us anything or any kickbacks, but he'll provide all the leads that you need. Those are all double verified, dual verified leads. So his staff has called them. He makes sure that they are looking for capital. He knows their credit score. He knows how much cash flow. And so if you need leads, that should be solved today. Call Madison. She'll resolve the leads. But after the leads, it does take effort. It takes ingenuity. It takes your skill set of communicating to the prospect how we can solve their problem. I give Joseph kudos. I think he has an effective model, not better than yours, different than yours. But again, we'll wrap up. Joseph, great job. 13 in a day is the new record. I hope that record won't last too long. Either you'll break it or one of the others will break it. But we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.